Hi there, my name is Marla Neufeld and welcome to the surrogacy space. Today I'm joined by Zeke, who's just going to be our companion during today's discussion. So every day I follow what goes on in the news regarding surrogacy, and today on my Google alerts I learned about a case in India where the High Court is challenging a single divorced mother's rights to pursue surrogacy in India. She's a 36-year-old woman. And given that she's a single parent, the court is challenging her and other women's rights to become a legal parent via surrogacy. So it raises a very interesting question. Are there legal challenges or other challenges to single parents pursuing surrogacy? I'm going to talk about what happens in the United States, although the India case definitely raises concerns for any international parent considering this process, either abroad or in the United States. So as far as the legal concerns go in the United States, you have to consider what state law is going to apply to your surrogacy matter. Just as a general rule of thumb, I typically go by the state of where the birth is occurring as far as which state will apply for the parental rights and what surrogacy laws will apply to the case. The state of birth is not always what we go by, but it's a starting point. And you can speak to your reproductive attorney to analyze which law will legally and apply to your case and which will be favorable to allow a single parent to proceed via surrogacy. So, for example, I'm licensed in Florida. In Florida, single parents can proceed with surrogacy. It's handled within a subsection of our adoption statute called a pre-planned adoption agreement. So it's important that any single parent pursuing surrogacy carefully analyzes the state law prior to, just at the beginning of their process. They understand what their rights will be and if they're going to face any legal challenges with the United States as far as confirming their rights as a single parent. There's also some other considerations to think about, whether the surrogate that they're matched with, if she's going to be okay working with a single parent, to make sure that everybody aligns, on that, to make sure it's a good match. During the psychological evaluation, this goes for any parent, whether it's two parents or a single parent, but there's obviously emotional, financial, mental health, evaluations that go into this. So making sure as a single parent, just even more so that you feel, confident and stable and have a good support group to get through this process. And another thing to think about is estate planning. Again, it's important for any parent, two parents, one parent, to have a proper estate plan in place, such as a will, a trust, nominating a guardian who would care for the child if, God forbid, something happened to the parents or the parent, power of attorney, all these other things that go into an estate plan. But for a single intended parent, it's really extra important that they have a will in place, nominating a guardian, because God forbid, if something happens to the single parent and the baby's born, the surrogate is never going to be the legal parent of the child. So it's really imperative that the parent nominates who their guardian will be so that their intentions are clear on who would care for the child. And in fact, it was an awful case, but I did have this happen where a single intended parent did die while their surrogate was pregnant. Thankfully, he did have a guardian named, but estate planning is crucial for a single intended parent or any parent. And as far as the law that applies for estate planning for domestic intended parents, that would be based upon the state law of where the parents live, not where the surrogate lives. My last point of consideration, as reflected in this case in India, is that for international intended parents coming into the United States to pursue surrogacy, not only do you have to analyze the state law, like I mentioned at the beginning, whether your rights are protected that way, but you also need to consult with an attorney in your home country to make sure that you won't face any challenges returning home with the baby, and to find out if there's any additional steps that you'll have to take in your home country to confirm your parental rights and register the child in where you live at home. Because sometimes with single parents, there could be challenges in certain countries when they just see for example, a single intended father on the birth certificate that could raise flags and could jeopardize parental rights back home. If you have any questions regarding surrogacy for a single intended parent, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to discuss it further. And thank you so much for your time. Zeke says goodbye.